Hi everybody, welcome to our weekly training video. This week we're talking about some training games for dogs that are hand shy or head shy, don't like hands coming over their head. So let's take a look at those. If your dog is afraid of reaching hands, what are some training games you can play to help? Who is this for? If your dog doesn't like it when you reach over their head, maybe they duck or flinch away a little bit, then this training may be appropriate for you. You do need your dog to be willing to happily approach you and take treats from your hand for this training. All right, so training game number 1 is just a hand touch, also known as boop your hand. And it looks like this photo here on the left, where the dog's nose comes into contact with your palm, usually. I'll show a video example in a second. But generally, you would start this kind of training by just holding your hand out, maybe to the side, with a treat in your palm under your thumb. Once your dog will walk up and take that readily, then you hold out your hand in the same way without a treat, and once they touch your hand, you say yes and give them a treat. So in this first game, your hand is going to be probably about at your dog's nose level or lower, and it'll be held perfectly still while your dog decides whether or not they are going to go touch your hand. Once your dog can do that, a variation that can be really helpful is slowly working on your hand being up a little higher. You're not going to go straight from having your hand at nose level to having your hand right over their head, but I'll show you a couple steps on the way in between those two variations in the video. So this is the same thing in terms of the dog's behavior. They are going to touch their nose to your palm, and you are still going to be holding your hand totally still and seeing if they are willing to do the hand touch. And you're always following these successful trials with treats, so we're trying to make this fun for the dog. So they're having a fun time playing a training game that involves hands, and even hands that are coming up higher than their head. And then the most advanced sort of step in this kind of training is having your dog do a nose touch to your hand while it is moving, particularly while it's moving toward them. So if your dog doesn't like hands coming toward them and coming up over their heads, then you're going to want to work toward something that looks similar to when you reach over to pat your dog's head. Now, I should mention here, these are all for you to do with your own dog. I'm not sure I would, I don't know your dog, so I can't say for sure, but probably I wouldn't recommend training your dog to nose touch strangers' hands unless your trainer recommends it based on their assessment. All right, so let's take a look at a couple quick video examples. All right, in this first one, here's a little Pancake, and this is just the regular hand touch. So for him, I actually just put out 2 fingers. I rarely use my whole hand, although he now can touch my palm if I want, it's fine. And you see how my hand is low, below his nose level, and kind of off to the side. I didn't stick my hand right in his face. That can be unpleasant for dogs that don't like hands coming at them. So this is the first version. I'm just going to show one rep here. So touch. Here, I'll rewind that. So hold out my hand to the side. He touches it. I said yes there, and he gets a treat. Now here's quite a bit higher. You could do a few steps in between there. Higher into the side. Higher and a little bit more over his head. These are just showing some variations on the way to having hand right over the head. And here's, I should have one coming completely over his head right there. He actually has to kind of stand up on his hind legs to get it. So this is how I worked with Pancake to get him a little more comfortable with hands just being up there over his head. Now the moving hand is a little more advanced, and you're going to want to start with very slow movement, and then you can speed it up if your dog's totally fine with it. So here I'm starting with my hand way back and moving it pretty slowly, and he moves into my hand. That's a good sign. That's what I want. He moves toward my hand to touch it. He's not like flinching back or retreating. So after he could touch my hand while it was low and coming toward him, now I'm practicing it with it a little bit higher. And again, work with your trainer. You may need in-between steps here that I'm not showing. But as you can see, we got to the point where I had a hand coming down over his head fairly quickly. And it was just a game, nothing to be afraid of. In summary, the training games for fear of reaching hands, this is for you to play with your own dog if they're worried about your hands. And if you've got a dog who's hand shy, I would recommend working with one-on-one with a trainer or maybe a small group class, but somewhere where someone can get eyes on your dog and give you feedback. But the general sort of picture here, stepwise, is starting with just touch my hand with your nose when my hand is low, at or below your nose level, so boop the hand. Then boop the hand up high, so a bit higher than the nose, and then you can kind of inch it upward as your dog gets more comfortable until it's over their head. And finally, introducing some hand movement. And remember, if you're gonna start moving your hand toward your dog, go back to having your hand low and moving slowly toward them. And you can gradually toggle those two things, how fast your hand's moving and how high it is, until you can bring your hand down over your dog's head fairly quickly, and they'll just happily do a hand touch. All right, everybody, I hope this was helpful. If you do play these games and have success, I'd love to hear about it. If you would like our weekly training tips delivered to your email inbox, as well as any alerts or updates on special deals or new offerings, go to this link on our website, dogkindtraining.com/newsletter. If you sign up there, you will get our weekly newsletter that has any relevant information and links to our new training tips. All right, thanks everybody. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next week.